I originally went to Hall Green as a pupil back in '86. I left there and I returned in 2004 as a site manager, and that was then Parkfield High School. I started as a 12-month gap fill sort of thing and never left. So I saw the transition of becoming of the Parkfields to an academy, all the transporting the students back and forth, which was very interesting.
Yeah, tell me about it, because the school was over there, basically.
Yes, the school was just based on where the AstroTurf is now. The school was built in 1904, I believe. So towards the last few years, we had to transport our students up from Prosser Street up to the Parkfield site, various journeys throughout the day. So we'd have a lot of transport, like transport staff. And
why were the students transported?
It was really to get them to different lessons, because part of the school was becoming obsolete, because the school was becoming run down. It was so we used to transport some of the students for various lessons, and I think it was the last 12 months of closing the school, all students was transported up to Parkfield site, and at the end of the day they was transported back and released onto Prosser Street.
And so what are your memories as a pupil of the school?
I was a pupil.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a great school, to be honest with you. It was very open plan. It was a massive building. When I was there was a primary school also at the end of it that got burnt down, I think early 80s, I think. No, it was a bit later on than that. I think it might have been about 88. But I remember we used to have an annex down in Broad Lanes, and if we had a lesson after lunch, we had to walk down from the main building, and we was left to walk on our own all the way down to Broad Lanes and get to the annex.
Can you imagine that happening now?
Not at all. Our students wouldn't get there. But even the dinner halls, that was at the bottom of the field. So I can remember coming out of a lunch on the bell would ring, and we used to run down the side of the lane to get first in the dinner queue, because that was a completely separate building. It was a big old prefab building.
And the school itself was a Victorian building, wasn't
yes.
it? Pretty well.
Yes, beautiful building. It was solid. The walls, to drill some of the, I think it was called the black brick. So if we was to put something on the walls, to drill those walls was virtually impossible. It was well made.
Any particular memories of any teachers or any lessons?
Oh yes, lots. Mr. Warden, he was a very good teacher, John Warden. Mr. Iddles was the head teacher at the time. Mr. Bolivar, yeah, I think he was assistant head sort of thing. But now lots of fond memories of different teachers.
And what about favourite lessons? What was your thing?
I wasn't very. I could be quite a handful at times. So my favourite lesson was sports. I can. I'd sort of disappear for some of the lessons, but sports lessons I'd turn up. Woodwork, I used to enjoy catering. We used to do a lot of that, so I used to enjoy that. I can remember the sports lessons we used to do across country. So we'd go to the sports hall, rain, snow, anything you want, you'd do this cross country. And it would be all the way around the fields, outside of the perimeter of the building. You go all the way around the field, back of the fire station, up the hills, and come back round. And it was that always stood out to me, because I always remember, no matter the weather, you'd be out there, you'd be doing it.
So when did you, if you could just take me through again, I know you've done it basically. So when you started school and were you at, I assume you were at what was called the new, well, it became Parkfields, both schools, didn't they?
Yes.
Until you left. So can you give me some sort of timeline on that? As far as you remember.
As far as I remember, the planning started around 2009, 2008. Martin Portman, who was in charge of the planner for the new build, and a lot of discussions was had on how we wanted a lot of the artwork was designed by the students at the time, was brought into the new build, which is still on the walls in the library area. But then, I'd say the build started to go up. That's when, once the building started, that's when we started transporting the students to Parkville site. We then moved in 2012. 2012, all our students came in. That's when we started to demolish the old Hall Green school.
Right, so that was still
That was still in place.
when the school was here.
So our students moved in. We started to demolish that building to create the AstroTurf that's up there at the moment.
So how did you feel about that?
I was gutted. It was, I don't know, it's a big part of your life, wasn't it? Because going there, my father went there, I went there, and to the local community, it was a big loss.
I mean, obviously, coming to work here now, what is your, having said you're a bit of a handful, shall we say,
Yeah.
how is your view of students and school life nowadays? How do you think it's changed?
I don't know, I think kids are kids, aren't they? And you get your little rogues who, I can't say anything because that's how I was in the past. So,
What do you think about the pressures on them in terms of like...
oh, it's a lot more. The pressure for exams, and it's a hell of a lot more. When I was a student at school, it was many years ago, there wasn't, you turned up, if you turned up for your exam, you turned up. If you didn't, you get a 0, simple as that. But now, I wouldn't say the support's there. There's a lot more support to get the students to the exams. It's like sometimes we'll go out and if a student can't get here, we'll help out. We'll go out in the middle, we'll pick them up, we'll bring them to the exam. And the sport's in place, if they're like reading scribes, it's, yeah, I'll say the sport's great, which we didn't have when we was younger.
Just going back to your time at school, we talked a bit about lessons. Are there any things like trips or particular events or stuff that happened that stick out in your mind?
Yeah. Back in my time, is that we didn't have a lot of money, so there wasn't that many trips that went out. But one trip that did go ahead every year was Towers. I think it was in Wales. I can't remember.
Yeah, it was.
It was in Wales.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one thing that always stood out. We had a trip to Wales. I think we stayed the 5 days. I think it was. But that was something we looked forward to.
What sort of things did you do?
It was different activities. I say growing up in Bilston, you didn't get it. If you didn't have a lot of money, you didn't get a lot of holidays. But you get it in the countryside, you get in the open waters. It was great. It was great to, yeah. I think everybody sort of enjoyed that.
Yeah. So what kind of activities were you doing?
It was canoeing on the water, a lot of walking, camping. So
it's still going.
it's still going.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I spoke to the guy who runs the place because it was owned by Wolverhampton at one time.
Okay.
And then, of course, like anything, it got too expensive to run, so it was bought by a private company. So it's still run as the
Oh,
Towers.
brilliant.
Same place.
It's still called Towers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's.
Yeah.
He sent me. The job was really good. He used to be a teacher, but he now runs a place, and he sent me an old timetable of the kind of activities you might do during the week. So it must have been really strange you being here and watching your old school.
Yes, I've still got pictures on my phone of the first bulldozers to go in and take the first chunk out the building. I'd
love to have a copy of that.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I've got a few photos.
Yeah.
Of, I think at the time it was snowing at the time, and I was on the roof, and I got a couple of quick snapshots.
So do you remember? Obviously, you remember a lot about this school being built as well.
Yes.
Have you got any photographs of this school going up at all?
I possibly have, yes.
Because that'd be great. Because I've
If
contacted.
not, I will be able to get some.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Because I've contacted Ormiston, who sort of.
No, we was under a different trust at the time. We was under a trust called COAT, a City of Wolverhampton Academy Trust. It doesn't exist anymore.
Right. Okay.
So they only had us and Newer Academy as part of the. I think it was a regret when the old building went down, but we have to move with times, don't we? At the moment we've got an amazing facility that our students come to. So it was.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at your school and this, how does it compare?
Not at all. I mean, the old building was solid. It was a solid building. It was made to last for years and years. New builds, I can query that definitely. It's I can't see this lasting 100 years.
No, probably not.
But
But nice place to work.
oh, fantastic! Yeah, yeah.
So what is your role here?
My role, I started in 2004 as a caretaker, site manager, and I was doing a carpentry course at the time. And I said, I'm just staying for 12 months just as a gap fill. And I've gone from caretaker, site manager, I'm now facilities manager. So I look after all the cleaning, all the contracts of for the facilities to make sure the building's safe.
Brilliant. So you're still here then?
Still here. Testing times, but my heart's in this place. It's
fantastic. Yeah. They're really good, and I mean it's nice to have the connection with the fact that you know your old school's just over there.
yeah.
You can see there's still something for the kids in Bilston here.
Yeah, it is, and things are only going to get better, aren't they? I think they're going to invest a lot of money into Bilston, and it's like the Burt Williams Leisure Centre that we've got there. It's I remember the old Proud's Lane swimming baths that was there, and everybody complained when that was moving, but we've got another amazing facility on our doorstep.
Yeah, can't moan about that, can you?
No.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Teacher, Mr. Knowles was, and COVID killed him, unfortunately. He was a big strapping man, and the one day we found this buzzard on the field, and in the heavy rain, so we put this buzzard in the box and we put it in the classroom. And Mr. Knowles said, well, what's the problem? And we said, we've got a buzzard and we have to put him in the classroom. And as he opened the door, this buzzard popped out the box. This big huge bird was there, and I've never seen him run so quick. Rod was a very nice man as well.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, but there's lots of stories to tell, lots of memories.
Anything else that you want to?
One memory, when I first started, and I didn't realise until I started at the school, we had a fish pond right in the middle of in the old building. And when I started, it was overgrown. You could hardly see the fish pond, and it brought back memories. So one of the first things that I done, I said I want to work on that fish pond, and I cleaned it all up. I painted it and got all the weeds, all the rubbish out of it, and turned it back into something back in the day. So that was one of the memories that stood out to me that I forgot about. But when I started working there, it came back to me.
Back to you.
Yeah.
And you did that as a kid, did you?
No. When I started working
back. When you started working
yes,
back there. So
yeah, I think it was left to overgrown. It was, and the story was there was still fish in there.
Oh right.
No, Brian, the old caretaker, Brian Evans, he said to me, he says, no one's looked after that for years and years, we'll leave it alone. And I thought, well, let's get it up and running. And when I started cleaning it out, there's all fish in there. Nobody had fed them for about 10 years, but survived.
So you were pleased that you got that back to
yes, yeah. I remember when the school was being knocked down, we spent days trying to chase these fish out of the water, and staff was taking them home to the ponds, and
so the fish survived.
The fish survived, yes.
Did you manage to get any souvenirs of the building when it came down, or was it blocked off?
I think in the shed I found an old, it was a battered old trophy from about 1930, and it was all crushed. And in my shed at the time, I took it out and tried to get all the dents out of it. It didn't work, but it had gone too far. Things like that. And I remember we had one of the evenings we had a lot of the people who worked there. They came in. People was taking bits of the parquet flooring home with them and things like that. The flooring was beautiful. Old parquet flooring was perfect. But we had great pleasure of cleaning that up. The cleaners at the time was fantastic. They would they'd scrub it all off, they'd buff it, and within a day it should be shining like new. So things like that stand out.
Yeah.